Okay, this is now the 5-minute tarot for the 1st of March 2017. And somebody sent me an email asking for information about the suit of Batons, because different sources will give you different information about what the suit represents. And so this person who sent the email uses the Hudes tarot, which I had never seen before, but I found a picture online of the 7 of Batons, so we'll look at it. First though, you know I like to use the Rider deck, and if I can begin with an illustration from the Rider deck. One of the things in the johnstarotcourse.com, I mentioned there, part of it is how to get to know the suits. And one thing you do is, and I gave you a start, is you write down 100 things you can do with a coin, let's say, or a cup, or a sword, or a baton. And I think that's the way to go. So if you look at this suit of Batons here in the Rider deck, start with it, rather than look at words that somebody has given you for a supposed meaning. If you start with the suit of Batons itself, or suit of Batons itself, and look and see what you can do with the baton, you'll get some ideas about what the suit represents, or what it means, or how to make use of a baton card in an answer. So if we look at this shape of the baton in the Rider deck, it's thin, and it looks like a piece of living wood. And that can be, so Batons represents life and energy that can create. And if you plant that baton in the ground, it's probably going to grow into a tree, because it looks as if it's alive. And if you damage it, it's going to heal itself. So with Batons, you're looking at self-healing, living something or other. So if the suit of Batons comes up in a question about a marriage, the marriage is going to be, well, it may be okay, but it's a bit like the marriage is a living, breathing entity. It's not something that has died and is past and ought to be buried. That's another suit. So Batons is energetic, because, you know, if you look outside in springtime, you see little shoots turning into little trees that turn into big trees. So there's progression, and there's growth, and there's long lastingness as well, given the right circumstances. So that the baton, if you plant the baton and don't interfere with it, or give it conditions of warmth, let's say, and light and water, it's going to develop into something that's really strong. And all of that idea, all those ideas can be applied to the answer to the question, right? So maybe somebody wants to know, should I marry this person? If you get Batons represented, then the relationship itself can develop into something solid and firm, given the right conditions. So what you do is you focus on creating or promoting the right conditions, and you're going to end up with something that's solid. So if you actually look at the baton and think about what you can do with it and what's going on with the particular suit of Batons, you're going to know what the suit means for any question. And I think that's a more productive way to go, partly because you're educating yourself and you're developing understanding from within yourself that already exists within you. You're just sort of getting access to it, rather than taking something from over there and trying to draw it into you and make it part of you. You're dealing with what's already part of you and amplifying it, or bringing it to the surface, or creating a relationship with it, rather than have it separate from you. Whereas if you look at the suit of Batons in the Hudes tarot, it's much more solid. And so I think we're supposed to look at the deck that we're using and interpret it, rather than have apparent meanings that we kind of ignore the picture on the card and refer to words that somebody said make sense. So if you look at the difference between the Baton and the Rider deck and the Baton and Houdis tarot, the Rider deck is flexible. So it's not saying that one is good and one is bad, but if you need flexibility, then if you're reading the Rider deck and you need flexibility, with Batons you're going to get it. Whereas in the Houdis deck, if you need flexibility, you're not going to get it from the deck, from the illustration, from the suit of Batons. Whereas if you want stability and solidity and firmness, you're going to get that from the Seven of Batons in the Houdis deck, because it's the actual baton itself is pretty solid. I don't know what that thing at the top is. It may be some kind of stylized version of fire, because I think the person, and lots of people do, they say that the suit of Batons relates to fire, which is a complete waste of time to think along those lines. It's just confusing and gets you going round in circles. But that's my own rant. However, with the Houdis tarot, I don't know what more to say than it's solid. And it's maybe you've got this little flame at the top. But the person in the card is hard to do a lot, I think, with that particular image. The woman in the card looks, I don't know, passive. She looks like she's not. I don't really know what's going on with that particular image. Where I can do a lot more and make more sense of the Seven of Batons in the Rider deck. So anyway, what do Batons represent? Think about it. See what I've given you a start, but there's lots more that could be said. I'm thinking of The Walking Dead, if you watch The Walking Dead, because one of the characters in it, Morgan, has a staff that he uses, and for him it's a weapon. He doesn't use it to kill people like you would with a sword, but he can knock them over, or he can prod them in the stomach and wind them. So it's for defense and a little bit of attack, but it doesn't do great damage the way that a sword would. And so if you watch The Walking Dead and look at Morgan and how he behaves and what he does with his baton, that can give you information as well about what a baton card would represent in a reading. So be ready to defend yourself, but don't use lethal force, whatever that might mean in the context of the question that was asked. Okay, that was something about batons. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Okay, bye-bye.